Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the movement of spiritual inner awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hu is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. Then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Dov Bayer of Metzerach, who is one of the students of the Baal Shem Tov and Hasidic Judaism. And then we can talk about whatever you would like. So if you'd like to get comfortable and gently close your eyelids. Beloved Father, Mother God, we call ourselves forward into your love and light and sound. As we reach up into our higher form, we ask to be filled, surrounded, and protected by the light of the Holy Spirit and the light of the Christ. We ask for this with love and understanding. And we ask that only that which is for the highest good take place here. We open ourselves to receive of the guidance and the healing and the clearing of spirit. We ask for the clearing, that any karma or negativity that can be lifted be taken into the highest realms of light and dispersed into the nothingness from which it came. We do this session in the presence and under the guidance of the mystical traveler and Christ consciousness. We ask that the energy and presence of the Lord Jesus Christ and John Roger infuse all that we're doing. And once again, we ask all of this for the highest good. We breathe in ever more deeply that loving that we are and call forward the very truest essence that is within us, that is experiencing as us. We see that loving pour forth from our hearts and into the world. And we ask that all beings everywhere be filled with joy and peace at this time. That wherever there may be suffering in the world, let there be comfort. Let the presence of the Spirit envelop and embrace all those who need it, any part of us that could use the support. And we are so grateful, Lord, to be of service and grateful for all the blessings that you bestow. For we know that the blessings already are. And we know that your will is done, and for this above all, we give our thanks. And so it is. Berush Bishan.
I think God's got it all set just exactly the way it should be right now. And if he thinks it's to be different, you and I will start to get those hits. And he'll start to fill us up. He'll say, I want more loving in here. I want more loving in her. I want more. He's in charge of the loving. We're just commutators where we step it down from the divine principle into the world, into the auric field, into our behavior. And yeah, it's not every day ha 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 fun and fun and fun and fun. Some days the karma comes up and you go, oh, not this one. Well, I don't say that anymore. I go, oh, this one. Just acknowledging what's present. I'm not going to deny it because that's denying the first law of spirit, which is acceptance. Not agreeing that I like it that way, but just accepting that it is that way. They killed 15 kids at Littleton, Colorado. I accept that. Anybody who doesn't accept it's in denial. And they're not going to have spiritual contact about that. You say, well, does that mean you love it and you're glad they did it? No! I just accept it because that's what it is. I accept that these television lights are here. Do you like them? No, they bother my eyes, but I accept they're here and they're here for a purpose. Do I stay involved in, I'm in acceptance, I'm in acceptance, I'm in acceptance, I'm in acceptance. No, because that's blocking. I'm now starting to block. I just accept it and go on. If I don't like it, I would go turn the lights off. Or I would move someplace else. I know a lot of ways to do it rather than to do negativity. And ultimately I can just say, I don't want these lights on and don't televise anything more than I'm doing. That's it. I won't have to worry about my eyes burning. And it'll stop right there. Then when he wants on, if he wants to televise back on, he can ask for it all back on again. Cool. I'd say turn the lights on for him. That's just knowing my purpose and allowing him his purpose. And I may not even know what it is, so I'm even allowing it more. And then if I see his purpose crossing into mine, we jump on and just have a great, loving, caring time. Like Claire is part of him and my purpose. Yeah. You know, he brought up, you notice how I just abandoned everything and went to my purpose? Did anybody feel bad about that? Because it was loving. So don't be afraid somebody's going to dislike you if you stop talking to them and go to your purpose. And if they do, those are not people you want to have around you. You shake the dust of their beingness off your shoes and walk away. And no malicious intent, just purpose.
All right. Here's a quote from Dov Bayer of Meserich. You must forget yourself in prayer. You must forget yourself in prayer. Think of yourself as nothing and pray only for the sake of God. In such prayer, You may come to transcend time, entering the highest realms of the world of thought. There, all things are as one. Distinctions between life and death, land and sea, have lost their meaning. But none of this can happen as long as you remain attached to the reality of the material world. Here, you are bound to the distinctions between good and evil that emerge only in the lower realms of God. How can one who remains attached to his own self go beyond time to the world where all is one? Okay, what would y'all like to talk about today? And just as a public service announcement, if you're new to the calls, new to Soul Transcendence, new to this whole spirituality thing and what we're talking about here, and you raise your hand, I will give you preferential treatment and push you to the front of the line. So if you do feel the call to raise your hand, yes, I'm talking to you, then please do raise your hand because I love to talk to folks that are new to the work. So thank you. All right, Wendy.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Um, I wanted to see if you, Spirit, has anything for me around belonging, the or there's a seems like there's a lot stirring for me after the holidays. Um, the I had good to great holidays in general. I
Mm,
was on some adventures and I got to be blessed to be at Ghana for Christmas and the Royal Road and took myself on a trip for my birthday at the beginning of December. But I've got this emotion present coming back home in Santa Barbara where I feel less connection. And it feels like it's maybe tied to my dad having left the planet earlier this year and my family not connecting, my biological family. Um, so I'm aware that I want to feel more connection, more like I love adventures, and I'd like to also just have that carry the whole portable paradise. And here where I live, um, in my home, in my community, wherever I go. So I've been told a little bit of, the part of me that looks outside for the connection and the fulfillment, and that there is the opportunity to open more to the inner spirit, and that I might be distracting myself at times. So, all that in the light. And if you have anything for me and for us, I'm grateful.
mm. There's a lot that seems to be going on in the energy field of the planet right now. And as much as, at least from the lower self perspective, it's very clear that this body is a microcosm of the macrocosm, and this body is connected to all the other bodies floating around in this ocean of life. When we interrupt the pattern of our everyday comings and goings, and when we enter a container like a retreat or something like that, it's as if we're entering a laboratory where we can finally close the doors, close the windows, and we can simplify the information that we take in. When we re-enter our everyday routine, all of a sudden, all of the incompletes and the karmas that we were working when we left are still there waiting for us. And hopefully, we've shifted in consciousness so that we could be better at handling them. When we go to these spiritual retreats and things like that, there's a sense that we get to know a part of ourselves that is more us. And so I wonder if the loneliness that you feel or the loneliness that I feel at times is not a loneliness for a me that I only seem to know outside of the context of my normal habitual patterns. I've noticed that when I visit places from my past, like go to a high school reunion or something, there seems to be some remnant of a me that I once was waiting for me there. That somehow the context has a memory or an imprint of that person. And what will happen is when we remove ourselves from the context, the rest of us will mature, but what will be waiting for us is an older reference point. And so if we have a major shift in consciousness, we'll come back into that routine and that inertia and that magnetism of who we were before we left for the retreat or whatever it is starts to pull and starts to feel heavy. What I've found for me is that it's important the right and the opportunity to wipe the slate clean when I get home. And if I don't take time to do that, to really say, hey, I'm now, this is Wendy 2.0. This is new, and really actually draw that line in the sand and know that I'm setting a new pattern. I'm not picking up where I left off, that this is my life for the first time, that this is my loving for the first time. And sometimes you have to be very direct in order for the body to get the message that you don't need to be pulled back into the same pattern. What I've often found is I'll go off and I'll have an experience and the consciousness shifts, and then I'll come back into what was just my normal routine that seemed very healthy, very good, but then it'll feel like almost like a bonsai tree, like wiring that's containing me or something like that. And I think that you're someone who's going through some shifts in consciousness, and not all of you is necessarily keeping up with all those shifts. And so when you have a discontinuous energy pattern that is attempting to enforce its rhythm on the new music that you're bringing forward, it starts to feel very heavy. Now, you can externalize that and call it loneliness and say, oh, well, when I was with all those people, I was having fun and I had more connection, and now I'm back and I don't have connection. But the person that you were connecting with the whole time was you. It was just different parts of you. That's the thing about relationships. So it's not really about connecting with people or other people or whatever that is. It's about working with those parts of you that are not maturing into the newness of it, very compassionately and very lovingly assisting that update of consciousness. Just in the way where I've gone through major shifts in consciousness and I've realized that, it's sometimes the nicest, most compassionate thing to go to a friend and say, hey, I just want to let you know the one that you knew isn't there anymore. I'm now working differently, and this is how things work for me now, rather than what I have done in the past, which is getting resentful because behave with me the way that they would have previously. And then I would say, oh, they're not respecting my new way of, well, if I don't tell them that there's a new rhythm here, there's a new energy, there's a new frequency going on in my consciousness, they have no way of knowing. But the same can be true for other levels of your consciousness. If you have the little girl in there operating on autopilot, going into the same patterns and behavior patterns, and you don't take the time to say, sweetheart, actually, this doesn't feel right anymore. That's not my favorite color anymore. And that's not my favorite flavor ice cream. And we're just going to have to relearn some things and set a new rhythm. Often it's the discontinuity of some part of me trying to re-enter a habitual pattern and some part of me rebelling against that creates this profound sense of isolation and loneliness that I felt. Or even it's like a heaviness or a constriction. I think that the loneliness factor, the isolation factor, you kind of have to like, what do you mean? It's like, what do you mean by belonging? And you can describe it, but the truth is, when you start to describe it, then it becomes very apparent that even if you had all those things that you say belonging is, there would still be an aching in you because the belonging that you're really looking for is an integrated belonging within yourself. Like, I belong here in this body, in this house, in this place. I belong here right now. So it's not so much like a belonging with other people. It's like a this this here is home. I belong in here. And I'm sharing this with you just because what I perceive is more of a change in consciousness. And when I've gone through that, I've had a similar feeling than what I'm picking up with you. And it's apparent to me that it's not something that is necessarily solved by belonging in a group sense. Does that make sense to you?
I really appreciate it. It's really helpful.
But I also think it's a moment where you can really love on yourself and really be present for yourself and be sweet with yourself and identify where you might have habit patterns or stuff set up in a way that is specifically encumbering the flow of what you're doing now. So it gives you a very practical approach. Doesn't mean it's not going to hurt because I know the hurt well that I see on you.
Yeah, from what you're saying, I think there's parts of my consciousness that don't know quite what to do with myself. Like, I don't know how my life 2026, looks.
Yes.
And I don't know how I feel, look. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's disorienting.
Correct.
So
But
embracing all of that.
it's also exciting.
Hmm.
It's like Christmas morning and you don't know what you're unwrapping the present. You don't really know. So it's almost
Hmm.
like you go to the mirror in the morning and you say, "Hey, good looking." And then you say, tell me who you are today. Tell me how you work today, right now. Tell me what good food looks like today, right now. Tell me what good friends look like today, right now.
Hmm. Yeah, so taking that as an adventure instead of just some of the other. Mhm.
Yeah, right now it's just the discontinuity and within butting up against itself.
Is there anything with this? I hadn't thought about it till I started sharing with you when I used the words portable paradise from John Roger. But I've looked in, I've Googled in MSIA stuff before trying to find portable paradise. if there's anything that's just present around this discussion related to that.
Yeah, I've had that real present with me. And I think one of the blessings of experiencing pain and discomfort in all those layers that are out there is that you start to enter the kingdom of heaven within. And regardless of the state of things, whether that's a physical discomfort or whether that's an emotional discomfort, it's as if it goes beyond a you that can find comfort and solace in that inner paradise. It's as if the you that suffers simply ceases to be in that inner paradise, and that who you are within that portable paradise, it is that kingdom of heaven within. So for me, um, the key is reaching in, reaching up, connecting into a consciousness that is transcendent of the ebbs and flows of my karma, but then also being a commutator and allowing that spirit to be present and to reside within me, to fill me and to express through my words, through my eyes. I guess my dirty little secret is I come here to be filled with the Spirit. And I guess everybody else comes here to be filled with the Spirit. And I don't make any of that work. But I know that when I show up with a willingness to be Spirit experiencing, be Spirit here, now, in this presence, that it shows up as me. And then as it shows up as me, when I go within, regardless of the circumstance, it's as if I'm always reminded that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my body, I'm not my emotions, that I'm eternal. And it's healing just to go inward. So it's, for me, it's almost like I fall into the arms of something and I pull back behind my eyes and up, and I feel myself drifting out. It's like the longest exhale, or taking a breath after diving under the water for too long. And you finally take it in and let it fill your lungs. And the force that it fills your lungs, you don't really know where it comes from. So
Well, I love this idea of the quest for spirit to be even to a greater part of myself. And when you were just talking, thinking of how I show up in my ministry, and if I could do that for myself in the mirror, in my home by myself, like, yeah.
that was one of the hardest ones for me to learn. Sometimes the highest service is the one in the mirror. In fact, oftentimes it is. If we can just take care of ourselves, we find the entire universe is better served. We find that the entire universe is better loved to the extent that we can love ourselves completely.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
God
Love
bless
you.
you.
God bless you.
Thank you. All right. Irit. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Yeah, you are pronouncing it right. So, as we started today, what came to me is that choice between processing and dropping an issue. And I have a saying, just to give you some background. I'm 75 years old, and I have a saying that says that even if I would live a very long time, there is very little time left. Right? And when heavy family old history comes up, there are times that I'm absolutely bored with it. And I see a choice of going again into this and that and the story and processing it, or dropping it. Because now I have a sense that some of the more persisting, old, heavier sometimes issue, I'll meet again next round, which is not a spiritual letting go of my responsibility to meet it as it comes. But do you know what I'm talking about? The processing something versus dropping it, and what you sense about those choices.
I think that you're familiar with the law of the preservation of matter.
The law of the preservation of matter. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's good because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, but yeah.
And then in Buddhism, they have a very similar context. I think I'll just speak from my own experience because I'm not the expert here, but dropping something for me authentically is becoming one where that thing no longer exists. So it's not so much that me as myself takes the thing and throws it away, because I've never found it to be gone. I can
Right.
throw it away in my subconscious, but then it comes back a little further. I can throw it away. I can throw it away into the universe, but then it comes back as a karma. The things that I avoid inevitably recycle on me. And they may recycle in different forms in different ways. Now, that's not to say it's a good use of your energy to invest in a grudge or an anger or an againstness. But I think it's important to be honest if you're not free of something. And what I found is being radically honest and not trying to create a narrative about my own spiritual sacredness or purity. God will show up and reveal to me where I'm mistaken and where I misunderstood. And the second is that spirit that can reveal the truth will only reveal the truth to the extent of our willingness to see, to extent of our availability. And what I mean by that is oftentimes the way that we frame the problem or frame the issue is what's preventing the spirit from revealing exactly what's going on. In almost every conflict or issue that we have in family or otherwise, we have framed up exactly who the players are in the story, what their role is, what happened, what we think happened. As we start to deconstruct that, as we start to question the thoughts upon which the story was created, is that really true? Do I know that that's true? Because most of the time we make assumptions without such evidence. You start to realize the arbitrariness of how we decided to interpret the situation and how ultimately true the opposite is, or a different perspective. It's like, oh, so-and-so betrayed me. And then you go, oh, well, I betrayed so-and-so. Oh, so-and-so was so violent with me. They yelled at me. They were so abusive. But I've been judging them and condemning them in my head for 20 years. Who's more abusive? The person who yells once or the person who judges for 20 years? You start to see that underlying all of these stories within which we litigate and relitigate the stories of our life are always fraught with an underlying wound that is seeking its own healing that often has nothing to do with the story that we're telling.
Mm.
To me, the freedom is always in forgiveness, but not in a forgiveness that affirms the story and says, oh, yes, even though they were wrong, I'm such a big spiritual person, I will let it go and I will say it's fine. God be with them. Everything's fine and move on because I'm a good person. It's the me that looks at the totality of the circumstances courageously and says, please, Lord, show me everything. Let me see the truth. Let me see my authentic role in all of this. Let me see the fact that this whole situation where so-and-so did this to me was really the balancing of me doing that to them in the past life. Let me see the full picture and let me see that there is no right and no wrong. There's only God loving itself and energy fulfilling its action. And as I see the truth, as I see from that perspective of divinity, as I choose in seeing all of that to love all of it anyway, something breaks open inside of me. And forgiveness is that state. It's that state that says, yes, I see all of it and I choose to love. And I choose to love because that is what created all of this. Love is the origin of all things. And I will participate in the reality of that love.
Mm.
So for me, most people that I've worked with get stuck in the cycle of egoic forgiveness when ultimately the freedom is a forgiveness that sees the full picture and recognizes all that has ever happened in my life is a process of me completing action, healing myself, and learning more about my divine nature. And I'm not saying that conceptually. I'm saying that, like, if you have whatever, the situation with a sister or brother, whatever, and they did this to you and it was many years ago, but it always hurts and the whole thing. And if you just say, God, please show me the truth. I want to know the truth, the truth that transcends right and wrong, the truth that is only love, the truth that sees the perfection in God's creation. You will be astounded at what you were shown. And when you're willing to see that, and your desire to see truth becomes more potent than your desire to be right, you no longer are a person who has anything left to forgive. You no longer feel any need to forgive anyone because your own consciousness does not see a world where wrong has been done. And you're racking your brain trying to figure out, what is it that I was supposed to forgive? What is it that I was supposed to forgive? Because all I see is God's perfection here. The people who have that consciousness where that they already move into that non-dualistic state of oneness, oftentimes you ask for forgiveness and they look at you confused, or they let you do the forgiveness so that, yeah, okay, yeah, you're forgiven, but you were already forgiven, right? The forgiveness happened the second the thing was done. Oh, what about breach of trust? Well, trust is something that happens when we recognize that people are going to do what they do. and we plan accordingly, but we just trust them to do what they do, and we love them for that. Even the people who do messed up stuff, well, I can never trust them again. Well, what are you looking for in the trust? Are you looking for vulnerability? Because you can find that inside of yourself. When you start to take 100% responsibility and accountability for your experience within you, you start to create a kind of agency where you can take that dominion, where you are the God of your own inner universe, and you have the authority to declare all things right and proper and perfect and beautiful. And it's extremely healing. It's extremely healing. Until I figure it out, it's like, look, karma by its very nature is blindness. So you'll have a situation that's it's very difficult, and it will be very, very difficult for you to be willing to change your perspective on it and to really move into that consciousness that I'm talking about. It takes courage, and it hurts. But if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to just see it, and once the truth hits you, all that aggression just goes away. But the other thing you may realize as you start to see things in that truth, you might realize you were never really angry at them in the first place, and it was about somebody totally different, and you were just trying to litigate it through that relationship. Or it might be that you have a trapped emotion somewhere in your body, and you really just need to release it from that part of your body. Or you may realize that you're tuning into a collective something with your family, and it was never yours in the first place. You were just wearing it as if it were yours. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I do, and especially the last thing you said about, so I had a role in my family that wasn't mine,
That happens a lot, yeah.
right? And it had, and I looked at it because it had its benefits and it had its suffering, right? The role I played had benefits and kudos and rewards,
Right.
and had a lot of suffering. And I actually know that role I did drop, and at the same time, to be truthful, um, I'm not in a space when I can say, if we even put my own personal, somewhat boring story aside and look at what's happening around in the world, I find it hard to say all is good, all is loving.
Yeah, see, because you don't know which world you're talking about. Because you think that you know what's going on out there in the world, when what you really know intimately is what's going on in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to heal that world there, you would be bringing loving to everything around you and beyond. You would be a beacon of light walking on this planet. When you start focusing out there and say, I was playing a role in the family, all of that, the family was in there, the role was in there. If you can work it and heal it, you can even work it and heal it right now. You can even go in and you can work with the origin of that role and whoever's role it was. You can heal the whole thing right now.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? Like the entire story that you constructed has time assumptions in it. It has personality assumptions in it. And you may have needed to complete that role in order to complete a karma from a past life. And you go, oh, thank God. Now it's done. Now it's done. And your life is not boring or not boring. It's not boring or not boring.
No, when I'm saying
it's
boring, it's just
all
a matter of
it's
speak to the repetitiveness of it.
it's in the ordinariness and the magnificence. It's the notion that if everybody's suffering and everybody's struggling and everybody's pleasure and everybody's pain and all of it is equally loved and valued by God, that means there is no such thing as mundane or special or anything. It's all miraculous. It's all blessed. It's all God's gift to us. We don't have to have a hierarchy of importance. Every ounce of suffering on the planet is worthy of love and worthy of compassion. Whether you're a toothache, or whether you're the loss of a home, or whether you're a war, it's not a competition. You can bring the love into yourself and you can nurture yourself even now. And you can feel it. You just put your hand over your heart and you can feel the love as you bring it into yourself. As you pull it back from the story you constructed in your head, you just say, I love you. This is love. This is where love resides.
Yeah, I can feel it.
That's the great work. That's the privilege that we have every day.
Mm.
We ask, what is the path to world peace? It's that peace begins with me. And if I can start bringing peace into the wars and into the suffering that I perpetuate on my inner reality, then I have done the world a great service.
Mm. And that's really, that's lovely, and it has no story at all.
I found that story is what gets me into trouble. The second I feel like I need to justify something or explain something, that's usually when I am doing the ego thing. Love needs no justification. It needs only our willingness to participate.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
It's so funny because we know that, and then we come to these places and read all this book of wise men and women to remind us of what we know, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
don't
it.
I
No,
don't
I
imagine
love
I'm
it when,
saying
yeah,
anything people don't already know.
yeah.
I'm certainly not going for originality at this point.
No, but it's thank you. It's so it got me into such a soft space where when we started, I was in this needing to fix something. Even the dropping is the need to fix. And
Yeah,
now I'm in this.
the
Yeah,
fixing happens intellectually,
yeah.
and we use the mind to create that sense of safety and security.
Mhm.
But in fact, those parts of us that feel like something isn't right or feel like something isn't complete are really crying out for us to bring the loving into that. We create a false famine and a sense of lack within us. And we create this mythology that there simply isn't enough love to go around. But actually, we have more than enough within us. We have such fullness and such sweetness within us. And all those children within us that are crying out for love, we have all that we need to fulfill that. If we would just take the time to do that. but instead we take a very circumspect approach and we try to go out into the world solving problems and fixing other people and fixing what we think is wrong, when the origin and the end of all suffering is within us. Okay. God bless you.
And you.
Elizabeth.
Thought he was finished. Morning, Jeffrey. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone online. Well, that sharing that you just did was just, I wish I had a recorder. I was going to play it over and over and over and over. You sort of answered my question, but I'll ask it. So I have this in my head that I remember John Rogers saying, and I use it a lot. God's got it wired and you don't like it that way. I think I might have even been at that seminar.
I've heard him say life is perfect, we just don't like it that way.
Yeah. So anyway, most of the time I think I can sort of accept most things. I say, okay, God's got it wired, it's just what it is. And then I still have these judgments that come in. And even when I'm judging,
do you know
I
why?
know.
Do you know why they come in?
Well, because I must be self-righteous or think I
No. Well, that may be true. And also very funny. But the reason is because someone like you with a very strong will and a very powerful creator and a very strong mind, you decide, I like the idea of not judging. So I'm going to not judge and I'm going to think that the world is perfect, and you put your mind to it and you focus real hard. And then what happens is you have memory and trauma and basic self stuff going. You've got different levels of your consciousness, and they haven't agreed to that. They haven't agreed to that the world's perfect and all that stuff. And so you make that declaration and you go around and you say, well, I'm going to be a saint now. I really liked what I heard. JR said the God's got it wired, and we just don't like it that way, but I'm going to be one of the only people that likes it that way. I'm going to do it. And then you start setting your mind to it, and then something happens that triggers something in your subconscious, and then all of a sudden you're saying that swear word that you said you wouldn't say anymore, and you said it anyway. And you went, oh my goodness, am I judged? And then all of a sudden you're righteous. And then all of a sudden, see, consciousness and behavior and personality are part of a very elaborate system. And that system is a combination of past life memory, patterning from when you were 0 to 7 years old, and all the experiences and ways of surviving and ways of getting by that you've learned up until now, and all the really cool spiritual words that you learned at retreats, and all of that put together. And that is this personality, this vehicle that you're using. Now, my perspective is, it is really wonderful for us to do the spiritual exercises, go to the retreats, and do all the work to start to train our consciousness to move in the direction of truly and honestly accepting all things. It might be a better recipe for success for you to hold the intention, because the conscious self is very good at intention and attention when you discipline it, bearing in mind that there's an entire litany of other levels, layers, and aspects of your being that may or may not agree with that approach. And judgment and righteousness may have been something that has really worked for your family on a genetic level for many generations. And it may have worked to get you through some really hostile environments when you were a kid. So step one, I actually honor and love all the swear words that I learned and all the defensiveness that I've cultivated and all the things that got me to right now. And I say to those parts of me, thank you, beloved, for getting me here, because I don't need to pretend like they're not there, and I don't need to live up to a standard. The standard really isn't what does it for me. I've tried living up to standards. Heck, I was raised around some pretty cool people, and I just assumed that when you're doing this MSIA and soul transcendence and spiritual thing right, you start to act more perfect. And then I got older and I understood that everybody is dealing with their own shit. Everybody. It's like there was that one question from this famous minister, something, be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle, or something like that. And I started realizing that the time that I would spend attempting to live up to some kind of a narcissistic image of who I think I need to be in order to be spiritual is time that I could be spending loving all those parts of me that aren't yet matured, and time that I could be spending loving and serving the one in front of me. So for me, it works a whole lot better to have a sense of humor and to be real honest. So it would be something to say like, I'd really love, and I set the intention of truly and honestly accepting the world just the way it is, knowing that God's got it wired, and sometimes I just don't like it that way. And at the same time, I love all those parts of me that don't like it that way. And I'm totally into using all the swear words and doing whatever is needed for those parts of me to feel heard, feel loved, feel expressed. And most of all, it's okay for me to be a total mess as long as I can be a total mess lovingly. If I can just love that person that's in front of me, it doesn't really matter if I figured out how to walk on water just yet. It doesn't matter if I've learned how to transcend the many four-letter words that I like. If I can just be loving and be present, if I can just listen, if I can just hold the light for this one person right now, maybe my entire life was building up to this one opportunity to say I love you to the God that is in them, that's also in me.
You're spot on, Jeffrey. But see, I thought I was doing that.
Well,
I was doing that, but anyway, I will re-listen to all of this again.
maybe you were doing that. Maybe that was for somebody else. Why do you
No, I
think
think
stuff's all about you?
yeah, yeah,
I think everybody's doing the best they can with what they know. It is just not that easy being human.
yeah.
I've seen people with quote unquote charmed lives. They got a lot of money, they got a lot of, and you just go down the list. And I work with them and I look inside their consciousness and I go, wowzer, it ain't easy being human. We can always play the grass is always greener in other pastures, but I'm telling you, I always get knocked on my ass by spirit, and I get shown that everybody is just doing the best they can with what they know, and it ain't easy being human.
I agree. Thank you.
God bless you.
Bless you too. Love you, Mr. Jeffrey.
I love you, Miss Elizabeth. um, well, Shay, do you want to share, or are you getting tired? Raise your hand again so I can find you. Oh no, I got you. You still want to share? I just asked you to unmute. You gotta press the button.
Well, there we go. Okay, so I feel like all of these questions were designed for me. There's so much, and at the same time, I feel like I need to ask this so that I can come into something, a resonance, more of a resonance. So this is what I've been experiencing. Um, I feel like over the past several months, particularly, I've just like shed dimensional layers of skin, just on multiple levels of skins. And it's like I've been coming out of a mist so that I feel like in a way I've been living, seeing the world. But as these layers of skin are peeled, there's it brought me into the same world. It's like looking through like my bedroom window, except it's all of a sudden very clear and but it's not the same. There's an emptiness. Um, uh, it's the same and not the same. And the question that's present with me, um, there's a sadness. The only constant in all of it is this thank God to God is what's
Do you
and
recall wondering if you were dying?
yeah.
You recall that?
Oh, what?
Do you recall wondering if was you dying, like in the
Yeah,
past few
and
months?
exactly. And the bottom line is this like, am I checking out? Or is this
Yeah. So what often happens when we um, people often talk about destroying the ego or destroying the personality or annihilation or something like that. I don't know about any of that. I don't know that that's what we teach, but what I have found is as we discover more essential parts of the self, which you've started and been doing, it's like your energy gets pulled deeper and you're no longer animating these other layers. Like we have these personality constructs of who we think we are, and they're familiar and they're comfortable, and they may involve a certain social aspect. They may involve a certain way of working and a certain way of using the mind. Do you understand what I'm saying?
listening is?
And then that you can think of it as almost like this robot you that's
Mhm.
plugged into the power transformer of your beingness. You start to recognize I'm not that person. And all at once, you start to resonate on a deeper level, and the energy gets pulled back in. And this thing that is no longer being animated by your life force starts to fall away. And so, entire swaths of your personality feel like they're dying. And your basic self, your consciousness, starts to go through almost like a grieving process, like you're grieving the death of a dear friend.
Mhm.
And you feel this profound sadness and this profound loss, and you can't explain why. And to make matters more challenging, you can't recognize the same reference points, all the signposts and all the different pieces in this stage that would have previously been your exact places of purchase where you would grab onto the banister, you would know where you are in space, even like almost like proprioception, like you
Yes.
push against something and you would know, okay, at least I'm here on this planet.
It's like a rhythmic thing.
Yeah, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So you've lost your dear friend, the you that you thought you were, the you that you fought for years. And then on top of that, you don't have any reference points and no handles to grab onto. And you feel like you're falling in space. and you don't even know where the ground is, and you can't tell whether you're falling up or down. And what also seems strange is every way that you would have defined progress in your life, the metrics that you would have developed, those no longer seem to apply. So you're driving a car and you don't have a speedometer or a gas gauge, and you can't really see the road. Am I warm at all in what I'm describing?
Yeah, it's basically that's how it feels. Is the thing that I would add is when I said the myths, it's like visually everything looks the same,
Exactly.
but it's like I'm looking
And
through.
yeah, see, and that's the punchline. And all of this is happening in a context where your physical life may not have changed at all.
Exactly. And the people, yeah, everything.
Everything.
So my questions are, where am I? Where do I belong? Like I said, the only constant it was my
So
question,
so
constant to God,
yeah,
what's next?
yeah. So the reference points are always going to need to be built from the inside out. So if you're looking for purchase, if you're looking for something to grab hold of, you got to go deeper. You just keep going in. You
Okay.
keep going in. You keep going in. You're going to find it in there. And it's going to go slowly, but it's like you're going to have to very slowly and gradually build those reference points. And the changes may be more subtle. It might feel like you're standing still, whereas compared to 20 years ago, you may be traveling at light speed, but to where your consciousness is now, that light speed feels like the tortoise, you know?
Yes.
So you have to understand, it's not that I'm saying don't trust your senses, is to understand that you need to recalibrate and understand that you're in a recalibration process, and that the signs and guideposts that you need are going to be found inward, and it's going to require patience and a kind of discipline over your mind, because when you say things like where do I belong, it's your mind reaching and struggling for the reference points you had.
Some reference points.
Well, some of them.
Yeah.
And it's going to reach and grab and find nothing, and then you're going to feel worse. It's that feeling when you're stepping down the stairs, when you think there's like one more step, where you think
Yeah.
you're at your bottom but you really just hit the air, and then you go
Yeah.
one more step. It's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. But that's what you do when you start to reach for those same reference points. You're going to keep finding that. So
I think I'm open to
it's
new
it's
reference. Sorry.
it's a discipline. It's a discipline of pulling into the present moment, pulling into that loving, pulling into that presence within you, and looking for the reference point only there. Looking for the reference point, like what you do around like listening to John Roger media and things like that, and MSI media, John Morton media, that's going to give you different reference points and things to grab onto. You may even find that you're overwhelmed by that energy and you need to just be in the silence. And sometimes the silence is that reference point. But the key for me is resist the urge to attempt to re-enter the dead pattern, and instead love and honor everything that brought you here, but reach inward for the truth, reach inward for that reference point, and be completely present. Where do I belong? Inevitably is a mental question to look out there, but where do I belong is a question that can only be answered by reaching in here. Like when you put your hand on your heart, I belong here. You get it?
Yeah, I was just saying where I belong is, I do think I meant when I said it, it's like there's a rhythmic place inside I'm looking for that's not there anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And so
But
when I
but
said that,
the
it's like, well, so
rhythm,
what is the
but
rhythm?
the
What is the
rhythm, the rhythm is is on a more transcendent level, and you're in a phase where you're going to get to experience the simultaneity of walking in spirit and walking here without any conflict or any illusion that you have to be either there or here. You can walk here as the beloved. Right now, your mind, and there's a whole ego construct that says there's a there and a here and where do I belong. But when you're walking with the Lord, when you're walking in that ocean of love and mercy, as you're walking here, completely grounded, completely present in the simultaneity of that, it will start to feel more calm and more aligned. Do
That'll
you
be the
understand what
rhythm.
I'm saying?
Yeah, that will be the rhythm.
That's the rhythm. But
That's
it's
the rhythm I'm seeking. Yeah.
but it's different than
And no, I understand.
what
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
ever done up until now.
No, yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't do anything that worked before,
Yeah, no, yeah.
except
No, I
for
just that's
SE's SE's
ask,
words
and asking God
and asking
every
God.
moment, what's next? What do you want?
Yes, the fundamentals don't change, but your
Yeah,
habitual patterns ain't gonna work.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
God bless you, Michelle.
God bless you. Big hugs. Thank you so much. I'm
Okay.
just not dying. That's what it's another kind of dying. Basic social way. I just,
How about you do your spiritual exercises and go ahead and just die each day?
yeah, that works. I do. All right. Thank you
I
so
love
much.
that.
Much love. Love you.
All right. God bless you.
God bless.
Well, thank you, everybody. Um, I feel full of the spirit of your presence. And thank you for the loving that you brought tonight. And God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are.